Hello and a warm welcome to News Across Nigeria. I am Olumide Mukoli. This is where we bring you news across the 36 states of the Federation, the 6th geopolitical zone, and what's happening right now. First, the highlights on what to expect on today's edition. And cattle rustling in the northern states will take center stage. We'll also have the UN Secretary General's visit to Nigeria, as well as the Adamawa State internally displaced women who got loans from the state government. And we begin with the meeting happening now in Abuja between the UN Secretary General, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, who met with the business community, where he said that 2015 is a year for global action on sustainable development. The United Nations Secretary General also emphasized the need for world leaders to move quickly to address these crucial issues to prevent further deterioration in the global condition. Mr. Moon is meeting with some key actors in the nation's business sector, as well as philanthropists. The UN helmsman, who admitted that no one organization or country can tackle current global challenges, urges Nigeria to pull its weight as the continent's most populous and richest country in addressing some of these challenges. Before that meeting, Mr. Ban had met with President Muhammadu Buhari in a closed-door session at the presidential villa. The UN scribe is also expected to engage in some field activities, which include a visit to the National Primary Healthcare Center in the nation's capital. Mr. Ban is also slated to discuss human rights and democracy and ways of tackling religious extremism with members of civil society groups and officials of the Foreign Affairs Ministry.
And human rights.
In economic, social, and political and environmental areas. I need your support. You are the drivers of economic and social transformation in Nigeria. Many of you have built your own success by innovating solutions to various social needs. I'm also delighted to see many women leaders today. Thank you very much for your. I'm very pleased to be accompanied by a number of my senior advisors, including a famous son of Nigeria, Dr. Babatunde Ostokimehin. He's executive director of UNFPA, that's Population Fund, the UN Population Fund. When I met President Buhari, I made a small joke. Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa. It's growing rapidly. So I told him, if you have any problems with population, just blame him. He's responsible. Now, we have a very famous daughter of Nigeria, my special advisor for development issues, sustainable development issues, Assistant Secretary General Amina Mohammed. Again, thank you. We have many leadership. My delegation this time is one of the powerful and strong, high-powered delegation. Now we have Muhammad Ibn Chambas, special representative of Secretary General for West Africa.
UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon in Abuja just moments ago, introducing part of his delegation to that meeting with the business community in the country. And joining us on News Across Nigeria right now to discuss the business angle of that meeting is Mr. Bosun Amafaye, our business editor on Channels Television. Bosun, it's good to have you.
Thank you very much, Macaulay.
How strategic is this for the UN Secretary General to say pointedly that he does want to meet with leaders of the business community?
I think it's quite significant, and I'm not too sure the last time that I ever saw the UN Secretary General meet with business community. It's quite unusual. Perhaps he would have met with, he met with the president, perhaps he will meet with some NGOs, for example, and perhaps a few other bilateral organizations, and not essentially business leaders that you saw there. You're talking about those who are in philanthropy, who are the big business people in the media, in finance, bank CEOs, and others. And it's quite, and policymakers as well as a few individuals who represent the government from the area of the Millennium Development Goals now to Sustainable Development Goals, the MDGs and the SDGs. So it looks like this is something that he must have discussed with the president and thinks that, look, it's good to meet Nigeria. Now, if you look at this as the window to Africa, that's Nigeria, as it were. You want to do business, and world leaders are coming to Nigeria. And I think Ban Ki-moon must have seen that, look, you need to tackle Boko Haram insurgency in the north. There are still issues with oil spill and poverty in down south, Niger Delta and Nigeria. Between north and south, you need to deal with these issues beyond handling insurgents. You need to provide food, you need to provide water, you need to provide girls' education, you need to make the environment comfortable for people, you need to provide infrastructure.
So is he looking at the private sector involvement in this and creating wealth for the nation as a means to this end?
If you look at what the vice president also said at another event today, that the top-down economic policy doesn't work. Now, it is a bottom-up approach. That has been the reapproachment that Washington has had with the Bretton Woods institutions, the World Bank, the IMF, and other agencies, MIGA, IFC, the rest of them has done over in recent years, allowing the economy to run from bottom up rather than top bottom. So he sees that, yes, on a very key human development indices, we are not faring too well. Well, we've covered some ground. We've done very well with polio, and that's been all over the world as a success case.
Which brings us, sorry to interrupt you, which brings us to states, the Nigerian states of the Federation. How do you think that this breakdown will affect the states? How do you think it can translate into these leaders or philanthropists doing things that can help advance the economic development of individual Nigerian states? Yeah,
we need to take, you're looking at big economic issues and you look at it from a smaller area. If you look at what Aliko Dangote is doing with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, for example, in northern Nigeria, when it comes to healthcare for poor and rural people in northern part of the country, that's quite significant. And that has been done. Tunde Milu and the rest of his teams working in the area of entrepreneurs and getting people to be innovative in technology, in farming, and things like that. Now, that is also happening. Then you have the Office of the Millennium Development Goals, now the SDG, in the Office of the President, also taking water, potable water in very poor and rural areas. Now, the government at the center and at the state levels now need to spend more money in terms of road and social infrastructure, sanitation, deflooding cities around across Nigeria, and making sure that people can afford 3 square meals. So you need to fix a few things. But again, Ban Ki-moon knows that, look, Africa's population, Nigeria being the signpost for that, is rapidly increasing. We're talking about the next 1 billion. We're looking at the largest population being by the year 2030. Now, all this put together, he knows that, look, if Nigeria becomes unstable, socially speaking, from poverty point of view, then that could be a serious problem for the United Nations to deal with. Now, with the new government...
goes beyond the Boko Haram insurgency.
So it goes beyond the Boko Haram insurgency because an angry man is an angry man. So, and he could become an insurgent. Now, looking at what has happened around the world and see what has happened in the Middle East and a few other people, including Asia, now they need to look at how do we help Africa quickly fix this problem. So it's not enough for Ban Ki-moon to meet with the president. He has to meet with the business leaders so that you have a private-public sector partnership that will work for the benefit of the 160 million people. I think that was what the vice president re-emphasized earlier today.
Are you seeing some of these business leaders who have a national spread being encouraged to possibly set up shop in some other states or communities where they hitherto were not before as a result of this sort of encouragement, and as well helped by the federal government?
I think in terms of policies, they're already doing a few, opening shops everywhere. But again, the level of social infrastructure and safety insecurity, as you look at Jos, Benue State, Axis, for example, it's been a hotbed of volatile ethnic relationship over the decades. Now, that has to be solved. We haven't fixed that at all. It's a major problem there for Nigeria's middle belt, where you have a very stable climate for food and for food products that can go into drinks like apple and things like that, and banana and whatever. Now we have a problem with that. Now we need to fix that as well very quickly. So businesses will be staying a little bit away from this volatile region because nobody wants to put their farmers or their workers in the line of fire,
at risk,
of line of danger, at risk. So the government needs to do a lot. Now, perhaps that's where the police is recruiting 10,000 new people or men who will be able to work along that line. So in terms of insecurity in Nigeria, it goes beyond Boko Haram. You need to fix the common problem of communal clashes between the Fulanese, the herdsmen, the farmers, and what have you. Today, 10 people, another day, 2 dozens of people, overnight killing and massacre. All these have to stop within that belt and to the north.
And that's part of what their attention will be focused on at that meeting
for Ban Ki-moon,
in Abuja.
Yeah, now that's why you find that. It's not just business leaders.
Yes.
You find those
That's
who are
as much as we have time for, though.
I appreciate that.
Fosun Omafaya, business editor and Channels Television, many thanks for your thoughts on this enterprise. You're watching News Across Nigeria. When we come back, the women in Adamo Estate who have been internally displaced are getting loans from the state government. Please stay with us.